right, this your boy Keith coming back with another episode of Next Stop, Brooklyn Basketball Nets Podcast. If you don't know what this is about, watch episode 1 where I got the introduction. Catch me on YouTube. I'm still trying to figure out how to get on Spotify and Google Podcasts and other platforms. New to the game, so bear with me. And like I said, this podcast all about my Brooklyn Nets, baby. Let's go. Anyway, every week I'm going to try and bring something fresh. I know we're entering the off season. There's a lot of question marks. There's more than a lot of question marks. I feel like an infinite amount of question marks. And there's so much to talk about. But I'm going to do my best to kind of like separate in every episode of what I want to talk about. So this episode, I want to talk about, we're going to continue, every episode we're probably going to continue talking about Kyrie and Durant until it's done. And for this one, I'm going to start going over positions towards the end of the episode, I guess. But for now, let's talk this Kyrie situation, man. Because it's just, I feel like I see something every single day. There's fans talking about you're not a real Nets fan if you don't want Kyrie back and all that good stuff. And I'm just like, fam, I don't. Why is it so hard to understand that I don't like Kyrie? He's a great ball player, amazing ball player. I don't think anybody can ever take that away from how much of a standout ball player that he is. But, fam, like this is like a non-political thing, whatever you want to call it. So as far as this whole COVID vaccine thing go, right? He sat out. He didn't want to get the vaccine because he was taking a stand for the people. Mind you, thousands of first responders. If you don't know, once again, I'm a first responder. I work in EMS in New York City and Brooklyn. Thousands of first responders have lost their jobs and not getting their jobs back because they are not vaccinated. Kyrie said he was taking a stand for those people, but it showed how two-faced the man is, because as soon as Mayor Adams was like, yo, by the way, you could play, he was like, all right, deuces, forget the stand I was taking. I'm going to play basketball. And to me, that's not fair. It's not fair because that means you're just about yourself. You weren't taking a stance for nothing. You want to play the whole righteous game, but in reality, it's corny. It's a corny take to me, you know what I mean? And not to mention when he takes his week hiatus for whatever reason, but goes out and parties and stuff like that. The guy's heart is not in Brooklyn. He wants to be a Net, and I feel like for the Nets that sold their souls for Kyrie and Durant, the fact that in 3 seasons Kyrie hasn't shown the commitment to you that you wanted, it's time to move on. I don't know how else to say. Giving the man a supermax of 5 years doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. I don't get it. I don't know, but it's one of those things, man, where it's just like, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you let Kyrie walk, then KD goes. And that whole Super Friends thing, I've said it before, I'll stand on it again. The whole Super Friends thing in basketball is the most corniest thing I've ever seen. Like, either you're about your winning or you're not. You're about your business or you're not. Not about, I need my best buddy with me to play with me. Like, come on, fam. You get a team built around you, you know what I mean? And, what the Nets did, and I'll continue to say, is that the Nets, they broke down what they built. They pulled a Billy King, but not as bad as Billy King. Not as bad as optics as Billy King, if that makes sense. Like, they sold their souls just to get bumped in the first round or in the second round, whatever round you want to call it. They sold their souls to not win the championship, and to grab headlines from the Knicks and stuff like that. And it ain't it. It ain't it. Excuse me, sorry. So it's rough. It's rough seeing like all these clippings and all these news things about if Kyrie doesn't want to stay, if Kyrie doesn't want to do the player option, that KD's gonna want to go, and then it's like it's all for nothing. The same way you brought in Harden to try to make it work, and that didn't work with him, which I haven't been a fan of any move the Nets have made since they signed Kyrie. Since before they signed Kyrie, because it ended up leaving. They signed Kyrie, traded Russ, fired Kenny, brought in KD, traded J.A., brought in DeAndre. Not in that order, not chronological, just naming stuff. Then brought in James Harden, Spence was gone, Levert was gone. Like everything's just been broken down. It's been a complete wash, and I really hope that Marks in a way understands that maybe it's just time to take the L. You know what I mean? It's time to take the L and let's do this the right way. And I know fans don't want to hear that. I know people don't want to hear, oh, why would you break a team up for them to suck? Or for them? I'm like, I don't want to watch basketball if my team is just going to make the first round just to get shit on. I want to watch basketball to watch the young kids play their asses off and develop, and for that development to be a piece away, then add the piece that go ahead and make it to the finals. If that makes any sense. Look at all you gotta do is look at the Warriors. Most of that Warriors team is drafted. Celtics. Of course, we know most of that Celtics team is drafted, was in the finals. And that seems to be the trend, especially now you look at Memphis. Memphis is coming up. Dallas is coming up, and it's with guys that they drafted, not guys that they bring in. You know what I mean? And to me, that's just a sign of what the game is now. It's about developing your talent, developing your stars. Even Minnesota's competing, you know what I mean? And I feel like we could have been in such a more of a better spot. Excuse me, guys. We could have been in such more of a better spot had we had not made all these crazy moves. You know what I mean? Had we added the Jimmy Butler instead of bringing in a Kyrie, or had we added Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris as a tandem, while keeping J.A. Russ or whatever, and Kenny, and just went that route. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of question marks going into the season, man. So essentially, this is what we have on our roster right now. This is who's signed to our roster. Kevin Durant, who's owed 45 mil. Ben Simmons, who's owed 35 mil. Joe Harris is about 19 mil. Seth Curry is about 8.5. Cameron Thomas and Day'Ron Sharpe. And then player options are Kyrie and Patty Mills. So that leaves us with pending free agents who I have zero idea what we're doing right now, to be honest. It's Bruce Brown Jr., Nick Claxton, Nikola Molamacino, Wilson Chandler, Mike James, Goran Dragic, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, David Duke Jr. So I don't know what route we're going in right now. I think a lot of it depends on this Kyrie thing. So it's a little difficult to like, as in years past, to say, okay, with this piece away. Even like as difficult from last year, okay, we need a big. Or, excuse me, we need a big. By the way, let me just. Sorry for filming this a little under the weather. I'm sorry. I just want to get my weekly thing going, and I don't know when I'm going to feel better, fully better. So I just wanted to get this out. I need to get this off my chest because I've been thinking about what I was going to say. So, to see. To see this roster the way it's currently construction is offseason with all these free agents and not a lot of money. So right now, let's say all the contracts are on the books, right? We're at 65 over the max. 65 mil over the max, right? That's all the contracts. That's without anybody taking out anything this year yet or whatever. That's just whatever's on this roster currently before this basketball season ends. And you gotta think about it. Let's say Kyrie takes the play extension. We're talking about 45 for Kevin Durant, 37 for Kyrie, 36 for Ben Simmons, and we're talking 19 for Joe Harris. That's about 100 plus, tied up in the four guys, and that's not how you win basketball, man. That's poor spending. I know you need your stars, but that's not how you need basketball. And Kyrie's not worth the supermax because he's not gonna be here for a long time. So, or he's gonna do whatever he's been doing. I think three seasons is enough to see what he's done. And from what I understand, I didn't pay attention to him much in Boston, but I know he wasn't well received in Boston by teammates, fans, whatever the case may be. But I know he wasn't well received out there. So, with that said, I wanted to dive in on this episode, kind of on production as far as let's see. As far as what do we have, like, because we need a big, we're gonna need a five, and I just want to examine like the free agent for fives. Because I think week by week I'll be able to examine. I'm gonna go position wise, so I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll finish at the one because hopefully that'll be a clear situation by the time I'm done with this. So I think five is the easiest one to tackle now. So on our roster at the five, who could have made the five? We had Andre Drummond, Nick Claxton, Day'Ron Sharpe, Blake Griffin, who I know is moving forward, who could play five, and we had LaMarcus Aldridge, who kind of could do both. So the stats, these are stats from last year. Andre Drummond in the 73 games, he's about 8 points per, 57% from the field goal, 52.4 from free throw, about 9.3 rebounds a game. You're talking 1.8 assists, 1.1 steals, 1.6 turnovers. Claxton, we're looking at 8.7 per, 5.6 rebounds a game, 67 from the field, 58 from the stripe. Blake Griffin was 6.4, 42 from the field, 72 from the stripe, 4 rebounds. And then Aldridge was about 12.9 a game, 55 from the field, 87 from the stripe, about 5 rebounds a game. So I think it was clear to see last year that the Nets were clearly lacking in a solid big man and a future solid big man who could have been Jared Allen, but Super Friends had to bring in DeAndre Jordan, and that kind of had to force the hand of Jared Allen going out because Super Friends wanted James Harden, and so we're looking at fives, and the question is, who stays, right? So right now, I'm on Sports Track and I'm on the Nets stats website, whatever, Nets.com stats, BrooklynNets.com, whatever. So right now, Blake Griffin is not going to get more than a vet minimum. Last year he made the minimum. Him, Drummond, and Aldridge all made the minimum, so I could expect it. So Drummond wants more money. Drummond wants to be a starter in this league. I don't know if you've been paying attention to his Instagram, Twitter, whatever the case may be. I've been seeing little clippings talking about how I think the most reads in a game in Philly's history, he was like top 3 out of 5 or something like that in stats. It was like 25, 23, and 20, something like that. But Drummond wants to get paid and Drummond wants to play. And I've always liked Andre Drummond. I think he gets a lot of slack because he's not a scorer and because he's like your traditional big where he's only there for one reason, and that's to get reads and to be in the paint. And I feel like that gives him a bad rap in this day and age. But I like Andre Drummond for what he could do, and if I could turn around and say, I'm gonna try to see if I pull up his career stats. And he's only 28, and that's the thing. He's 28 with 10 years under his belt. If I could keep Andre Drummond, I definitely would. That'd be like my main, because it doesn't. While you're already over the cap and you need a big, he's the guy that could hold you down if you give him like a 2-year contract. You know what I mean? He's that guy. You don't overpay, but you could say, hey, we give you 2 years, 10 a year. You know what I mean? Just maybe that's a little overpay. It probably is overpay for him, but yeah. So like I'm trying to think what would be a good number for him, because I feel like he's gonna want around 10 million a year, and I know Claxton is probably gonna get around 12 in the RFA. So yeah, I'll give him 10, between 10 and 11. Excuse me again. But so this is his season. I mean his career stats. Andre Drummond is who I'm talking about, pretty much. So his career stats is rebounds. He's about total rebounds 13.29 game. Defensive reads 8.75. Offensive reads 4.53. Free throws 4.47. And then his field goal percentage is over 50, which is .539 because he shoots so close, And The average is points per game outside of last year 14.93, 17.72, 17.73, 15.1. You know, the guy in the right situation gives you points. He gives you boards, he gives you second chances, he gives you points. Drummond is a guy, and he shows passion that he knows that he's a good player and that he wants to be here. He wants to play in Brooklyn. You know, I feel like he's been expressing that kind of with subtle jabs, but like he's also upset that he's not being viewed as to the five of the Nets' future. The guy's 28 years old. He's 28. You know what I mean? And while I still rather Jared Allen, but I know he's not coming back. Give me, give me Drummond, man. Give me Drummond. Put him on 2 years, man. Put him on 2 years. Oh, sorry, my headphones just went wild. Put him on 2 years. Make it happen. You know, and do your thing. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But that's what we have right now. Claxton is another guy who's who's an intriguing prospect, intriguing young lad. He's restricted, and we all know that a team is gonna overpay for him the way we overpaid for Alan Crabb back in the day. I don't know if you remember that when we first started doing a rebuild because we needed to find somebody. But Claxton's 23, and pretty much they from all accounts, the Nets feel like they have something special in them. They feel like they have something something they could build off of with him. And you know, he shows us flashes of greatness and or it's possible like solidness, I should say, not greatness, but he shows us flashes of what he's capable of doing. And they want to see what he could do in more of a full time role if he could produce more than that. But like if I they're gonna give him money because he's 23, you know, and as a restricted free agent, at the end of the day, the Nets, let's say, as much as I don't want to say this, but let's say Kyrie stays, we have KD, Ben Simmons, and Joe Harris. Like I said, those four contracts. We're not going to be able to afford a big unless it's on a vet minimum, unless we keep one of the bigs we have on our roster, two of the bigs we have on our rosters by paying it. It just keeps us over the luxury. Um, so, you know, rumor out there is Claxton is going to be offered somewhere around 12 mil. I could see, I could see teams like the Pistons, like the Thunder, one of those young teams that are really trying to put it all together and trying to grow. Um, I could see one of those young teams with cap space just throwing a lot of money at Claxton and getting him to come because I know that's how the game is sometimes. Um, and I think anything more, honestly, to me, anything more than 10 for Claxton, I wouldn't bring him back. But I think the number's 12 that the Nets are at right now, from all the reports that I read, excuse me, it's about 12, 12.5. So I do see a team coming in above that. I could see a team trying to offer him 15 per, uh, on with the RFA stuff. Um, and that'd be interesting. And the thing is that the Nets deferred the pick, the Sixers pick to next year. So it's kind of we don't have a draft pick this year. You know what I mean? We don't have a big to look at. We don't have anything to look at. So it's everything's got to be done. It has to either already be on our team or a vet that's gonna come on a minimum. So Claxton, while young, fun, good. You know what I mean, and exciting. I think that he's a guy where you got to be careful. I don't think you overpay too much for that. Because you end up like how we paid for Crab. You end up with a Crab situation because Crab never amounted to anything when he played for us. And that's what I like in it most when it comes to RFAs because we really overpaid and it wasn't necessary overpay at the time, but it was overpaid at the end. It was like, oh, this guy's trash. You know what I mean? He never amounted to nothing. So with that said, we have so Claxton's intriguing. Like I said, my priority would be Blake Griffin. I mean, not Blake Griffin. I'm looking at his name. That's why my priority would be Andre Drummond and saying, "Yo, we'll give you two at 10 per, so two for 20, and let's see what you do with that." And worst comes to worst, man, you flip him. You flip him in the beginning of next year. You know, it is what it is. You tried it out, but you need a mainstay five. Guy's 28 years old, man. It doesn't get more mainstay than that. But then we're looking at other guys like LaMarcus Aldridge. Who's I could have swore he retired and came. I forgot what happened with him, but LaMarcus Aldridge and we got Blake Griffin. But those guys could be had on vet minimums. But I don't consider them. Excuse me. I don't consider them. I don't know how to say this. Like they're contributors, but they're not. Like I don't consider them pieces, major pieces. I consider them filling pieces, if that makes sense. So I'm talking about kind of like major pieces right now, guys who could eat up the majority of minutes, and who will be with this team for a while. I also know we have Day'Ron Sharpe, who is another young kid who we have on the contract. So it might make either Drummond or Claxton expendable. Like I said, I'm really all about Drummond, man. Because here's the thing, this I see three different versions of what's gonna happen this offseason. It's the first version is Kyrie doesn't come back. Please, Kyrie doesn't come back. That's the first version. So if Kyrie doesn't come back, it's about 35 mil off the books, and that gives us a little bit of money to play with. And if that gives them a little bit of money to play with, excuse me again, that gives us a little money to play with. Here's some names that are interesting to me. You have Jusuf Nurkic, Nurkic. I always feel like I say that wrong, for Portland, who I think I enjoy watching as a big. We have Serge Ibaka, who's coming off with Milwaukee, who's will be a solid addition. I'm trying to see who else here I'm on Sports Track, by the way. Just looking. Let me see. You have it's not that much. Thomas Bryant, who's young. Bamba, Mohamed Bamba, JaVale McGee. I'm not enticed by what's on the free agent market right now. Greg Monroe is another one. So you like, excuse me again. Let's say Kyrie doesn't come back, and you don't want Drummond back. Then I'd go up to Nurkic and see what he wants. Because he made 12 last year. He's only 28. He's almost the same age as Drummond. I think a year younger. And I go to Nurkic and say, hey, what would it take for you to come to Brooklyn and try to win the championship if KD stays? That's if KD stays. So let's say Kyrie's gone, KD wants out. Now that changes the game because KD, there's reports all over the place that KD wants to go to where does he want to go? I'm sorry, he wants to go to Memphis to play with John Morant. Another Super Friends Part 20. There's a lot of rumors that pop out, but let's say KD wants to go. KD wants out. Then it's like, okay, what can we find on the trade market that I know Gobert is a target as a five, but would KD go to Utah? You know what I mean? Which I don't think he'd mind. Another one would be DeAndre Ayton for Phoenix. I know they've been reluctant to give him the max, but I could see a sign and trade happening with DeAndre Ayton. And then you have Phoenix throwing in a bunch more pieces. I'm going to look at their roster right now because that's actually a really intriguing one. This is if KD gets traded. So, yeah. So, all they have is DeAndre Ayton, pretty much. DeAndre Ayton. And I say maybe DeAndre Ayton, you could throw in Jay Crowder and, a couple picks. And maybe not a couple, but a lot of picks. And then, we'll give KD in return to be like a 1-for-7 type deal. So KD could go play with another super friend in Booker and Chris Paul. But I could see that, DeAndre Ayton will solve our problem at the 5, but then we have other holes after that. But so that's essentially how I see it, right? So it's if Kyrie stays, Durant's here, I say we keep Drummond, right? if Kyrie goes, Durant stays, I feel like we should go after Nurkic. And I'm gonna just go over his stats real quick, just to tell you what he gives out. I've seen him play, when I watch, I just always enjoyed watching him play. And so essentially, he's a guy who'll give you, you know, he averaged last year 15 points and about 11 boards. So he's a guy who'll give you a double a night, and that's important. In his career, it's pretty much he's gotten better at rebounds as the more his career has gone. Uh, I know, yeah. So 18, 17. Yeah, I know he has a little injury problems, but it is just the NBA. It is what it is. Um, so I would say yeah. So it would be Kyrie gone, KD stays, give me Nurkic. Kyrie gone, KD wants to trade, go ahead and get DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan, DeAndre Ayton, and a lot. Or, or you go to Utah and see what they want to do with Gobert, because I think Gobert makes the team better. You can build around Gobert. Is he a scorer? No, but I think the guy's a defensive stalwart in the league. I still think defense is highly important in this league, and I know it's all about the three and turn and burn and all that, but I'm a fan. I'm still a fan of defense, and guys who remind me of like the '90s basketball. So, just looking at Utah's, excuse me again. Just looking at Utah's roster, you have Gobert, Clarkson. So this is if he would accept a trade to Utah. So just for shits and giggles, just throw around, be like, KD, you send him to Utah. You give me Gobert. You give me Jordan Clarkson. You can throw in Rudy Gay, and then give me a few picks. You know what I mean? I think that'll kind of be the level out, because we're looking at 38, around 13. Yeah, so it'll work. Cap wise, it'll work. I think we have an exception we could use. Um, so there's ways, man. But I think those guys are. Let me just go back to my big screen when I had the bigs up. But I think those bigs are the most important. Serge Ibaka, I think, could be half or less. Him reaching age 33. Last year he made about 9'4", 9'5", so it would be interesting. JaVale McGee, that man will go anywhere to try and win a ring, but I don't see him leaving Phoenix. I think he has a good thing out there, but wouldn't be surprised to see him in a Nets uniform. Robin Lopez, let's bring Brook Lopez's brother to Brooklyn. I don't know. But yeah, so it's an interesting dynamic with the five, and it's interesting because we don't know what this team is going to be next year. We don't know who's going to be on our team, but like I said, with Kyrie, with KD, re-sign Andre, keep Claxton, let Claxton and Andre eat at the five. You know what I mean? No Kyrie, get Nurkic, keep Claxton. I think he's staying no matter what. No Kyrie, no KD. KD, go ahead, get me DeAndre Ayton. Excuse me. Get me DeAndre Ayton or get me Rudy Gobert. Gobert. I gotta know how to say it in French. Try to say it. See how L's, Puerto Ricans, L's instead of R's. Gobert. Anyway, so yeah, man. It's so much interesting stuff going on. Oh, Mitchell Robinson's another one. Forgot about that. I forgot Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks. Unrestricted free agent. Oh my God. So I do watch a good amount. I did watch a good amount of Knicks basketball. Most of my friends are Knicks fans, so you know how it goes in New York. So I see Mitch Robinson play, and he's 24, man, and I feel like he was held back last year. And while he does get hurt a good amount, that man could be ready to fly. That man could be ready to fly, and I tell Claxton bye for Mitch Robinson in a heartbeat. Heartbeat. I still think we have to figure out the situation with our coaching. I know they want to keep Nash, and I think that's a big mistake. I think it was a dumb hire from the beginning. But yeah, man, give me Mitch. Give me Mitch. Instead of Claxton, I'll take Mitch all day. And like I said, I know you guys, some of you guys, you're not a real Nets fan because you don't want Kyrie, this and that. I explain myself. I just never liked the guy. Like, from everything. This is so bad. Sorry. From everything I read, I never liked the guy. I do want to see KD stay in the Brooklyn Nets uniform. Ben Simmons is a wild card to see what he's about. Maybe he'll get his mental state together, or his mental health that hurt his back, which I don't know. I haven't heard that one before, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that could happen. And I think my meds are wearing off from the Dayquil. So I try to get this episode in. So once again, this is Next Stop, Brooklyn Basketball and Nets Podcast. If you don't know, now you know. And yo, one love, hit the like button, share with your friends. Share it with your friends, and your friends, and family, and all that good stuff. And let's get more Nets content out there. You heard? Brooklyn.